It is 5:30. I'd like to call the study session to order, please. First on the agenda is the public comment period. Seeing no public, we'll skip on down to number 3, the roundtable discussion amongst council members. Does anyone have anything they need to discuss or would like to discuss?
Well, I actually had two things. When they do the striping in the parking lots, are they gonna center it so people aren't, and I come out of that parking lot there, or any of the parking lots, and I always meet somebody, there's right in the middle, they don't go to the right or left side, the proper side.
You're talking interior parking lot
Correct.
wise?
When you go to enter that parking lot,
Yeah.
if there's somebody coming out, they're right dead center in the middle of the parking lot instead of over to the right.
So the striping that's planned is only for the streets right now. There's no striping planned for any of the parking lot work.
Never has been any over there.
Correct.
So
We installed, during this construction process, when we kind of restriped a little bit in the Hubbard Street parking lot here, knowing that there was only one entrance and exit here off of Trowbridge Street, we put that center line down the middle with a couple of arrows. So that's something that we could, I guess, explore in the future when we redo this parking lot here.
Well, I think they should be, because it's, since we have to park in different places and we are using these parking lots more, I run across that constantly. And people flying through these parking lots. And not stopping at the intersections.
You know.
And that brings up another point. Are they gonna put any more signs up that say this cross does not stop the street? Like they've put on some of them. I go down Cutler Street and Chestnut and people are pulling right out in front of me every single time.
we're gonna look at Cutler Street over the winter months. I have a different experience. When I walk home, people stop on Cutler and wave me across over here at Chestnut and Cutler, and I'm like, it's not a stop sign, and you're gonna cause a wreck by stopping. Please keep going. It's nice that you're being nice to me and waving me on, but I've almost caused a few rear ends because I'm a pedestrian. So that's stuff we can look at for, this road doesn't cross. One thing we do when we look at street signs is the Michigan Uniform Traffic Control Book really dictates what cities can and cannot do when it comes to signage. I don't know if there's a minimum speed limit for those kind of signs, because I usually see those on faster roads. I don't
I've
see
seen them on other streets within the city.
Okay, yeah, it could be that the city's thrown them up in the past with no, foundation in the MUTC, but we'll look into that for sure. I can email Doug right now and Jay, and we'll put that on our list.
There was something else on there, but I can't remember. So we'll have to bypass anything else.
Okay, Delora?
Bill, when you just mentioned parking, I was downtown a couple times this weekend, and there are cars parked all over on like Water Street. Like I watched a car go around the construction barrier and go park up on Locust. Is anybody patrolling that, especially when they're putting this new asphalt down? Like, is there anything to stop this? Because Water Street, that was completely full with people going into minis.
Yeah, I have instructed our police chief to have our officers more present downtown. I also get pictures from a person that lives next to Shanedorf, because people are parking on Water Street in front of the old Bubba's, just because there's the Locust is closed off right now, so they just assume that means you can park there, because it's not an intersection. If you were part of the downtown lowdown, then you probably got an email from Parker today on the project update, and we're gonna go into it a little bit this evening. By the end of this week, all the asphalt's gonna be done, all the lane striping's gonna be done. Next week, the lights should be energized, and there's a good chance the streets are gonna be open up by, middle of next week before the Thanksgiving holiday. So at this point, for us, I mean, we'll make a note of it, but it's not something we can really, we'll just make a note and tell them to continue to keep a watchful eye.
Yeah, and I understand that the project's almost done, but my big fear would be that when someone just lays that down and we have no parking and they go in and tear it up somehow, so
Yeah.
just a concern.
Ours too, and the good thing we learned is the asphalt, within an hour, it's safe to walk on. And within a couple hours, it's vehicular weight safe, so.
And we also don't want people driving over and screwing up our new lines.
So that is something that we have told the contractors, that when they do the pavement marking, we want it completely buttoned down. Not even openings for golf carts to get through. When they do that pavement marking, we want the entire construction, site locked down from traffic movement, because that's my biggest pet peeve, is when I see fresh paint go down on a street, and then you see tire tracks where they turn, and you just see that little rhythm of, graffiti tire tracks, so that's something we've shared with the contractors, for the past couple of weeks, because that's really the final, once, you can't really correct that.
Okay. Was that it, Bill? Okay. Delora, did you have anything else? Dave? Mike? Peter? Roger?
I did have one thing. Sarah Raymaker from the HDC wanted to be here and was going to speak during public comment, but she had a family emergency, so she can't make it. But she asked if I would just bring her main concern, and I guess some of the concerns that they've had on HDC is that they want to know, because they've been talking about what the future of the HDC is and where they want to go. And one of the pushbacks is they want to know, does council care? Does council want to hear what they're going to do, or what their plans are, or or do we, because there has been talk about getting rid of the HDC, and that had been the plan that and through unforeseen circumstances, we couldn't make that happen. And so they want to know, what does council really want from the HDC now? What do they want? What do we want them to do, if anything? So,
Aren't they locked in by the ordinances? That's what they have to do.
right, except a lot of those ordinances would say, if you don't comply, then the city's gonna take you to court, and quite honestly, I would not push to take somebody to court if they're putting vinyl windows in their house rather than something else. So if we don't give them any teeth, then what really is the HDC doing? And I think this is the exact conversation they want us to have.
Well, the teeth is there.
Not if we're not gonna prosecute it, not if we're not gonna sue them or take them to court.
So have we haven't done, did you guys redo the HDC when you were doing ordinances? Okay. Because we weren't sure at that point what direction we were going, right? Do we think maybe that is an ordinance that we should need to take a look at and rewrite it or redo it? And make it,
I thought that was
More
part of the
stringent
process
or
that we were
more-
doing.
Bill, we didn't do the HDC because they were doing the study, and so we weren't sure what direction that things were gonna take. So we had kind of tabled looking at that particular ordinance until we had heard back. So the ordinance committee group did not do anything with the HDC.
Okay.
we were still kind
So
of in.
now that you have that information from their study group, are you going to do anything with it?
I guess the last I had thought was that they were gonna kind of take a look and see how they were going to start operating, if they were gonna make any changes, and then come forward and have a joint meeting. But Jason Raymaker had actually expressed those same concerns to me, Roger, about enforcement. Like, if we are having people go through that process to get approval through the HDC, but then there are some people in the community that don't do that, and they know they're only gonna get charged $50 and we're never gonna do anything to them. I mean, it's not fair to make some people comply and some people not, and there's nothing that comes from it, so.
And I know when we did have that meeting together, that was one of Jason's concerns then, was are we wasting our time if nobody's gonna follow through with and follow the ordinance?
thought- I thought part of it was to look at right-sizing or some of the districts, which districts should be there, you know, or do all these districts really need to be here, and do they need to be as large as they are? Because it's quite large districts, which makes it very cumbersome, because there's so many different structures in them that really probably don't fall into what most people would consider historic,
Yeah,
or.
and that
that
did
was-
come up, yeah.
And that was one of
But-
my big things from the beginning, is if we're going to resize the districts, then I would be in support of that. Otherwise, I know everybody on this council knows how I feel about the HDC. I would not mind seeing it go away personally, unless they are going to downsize the districts. And, I mean, like I'd mentioned before, I would be fine with it being our public buildings. And maybe if individuals in the community want their home on it, then they couldn't opt in to be in the districts. But that's just my personal thoughts. I would clearly be in support of what the HDC comes forward with, and that's what I tried to do when we were gonna disband it.
I think that they've been having those conversations, but without direction from council, they're not really sure what they're supposed to be doing. So I think they're just kind of I think they feel like they're in a little bit of a state of limbo. So are we in mostly the majority agreement that looking at resizing the HDC, paring it down from the 400?
That, and how about, can we increase the fines for not complying with that, just for the HDC?
I think that would be in the ordinance. When we relook at the ordinance, we could look at what the.
Instead of, putting a postage stamp for all, fees for not,
Is that part of the
complying.
fee schedule, or is that just in the HDC ordinance?
It could be in both places, I don't know.
I
The
don't
fee schedule
remember
for
if it's in
HDC, I mean, for the HDC, it's in their code of ordinances, so it's probably at the very beginning now, under administration, and it's a municipal civil infraction ticket. And then you run into, how do you force those people to pay that fine? Driver's license fine, the traffic movement fine is much different, because a bench warrant can be placed out for your arrest if you don't pay your traffic, if you don't pay a fine, associated traffic movement. Jay and I were talking about unpaid parking tickets. And he goes, I could not tell you the number of unpaid parking tickets we probably have in this city.
With the fines for the HDC, is that not something that if it goes unpaid, we can do it as an assessment on their taxes?
That's a question I'm gonna ask the city attorney to see if that's a path forward to go that way.
Since that's part of the community anyways, so.
And it's associated with the property, I would think that would be reasonable. Let's see what Nick says.
Well, I know there was a house, I believe it was on Pine Street, that had redone windows. Jason and I had talked about this house pretty extensively. They had not come forward to the HDC. They had told them they needed to come and apply, and quite frankly, most often, they're just gonna approve it retro. The individual did not do that, so then the next step would be that the city could force them to remove all of the windows at their expense. And Jason said it was gonna be approximately $30,000 if they were gonna do that. So they didn't know how to move forward with that. And so when you're looking at projects of that magnitude, like,
And I have no stomach for that.
no.
Me neither.
And somebody's putting $30,000 or whatever worth of windows in their house. I'm good with that. I don't see a reason to punish them because they couldn't afford the wood windows instead of the vinyl windows. So and that's, I think, again, this is the conversation that HDC's like, I don't know what you want us to do, because I know Bill feels differently than I do.
No, I don't. I feel the same way, other than the fact that they did not go in front of the HDC to get the okay.
But if the HDC
Why didn't
said-
they do that?
Well, because if HDC would have told them, you can't put those windows in, you gotta do the windows that are 3 times the cost. And they're like, well, I can't afford that.
So this past Monday, and Mike, you can speak to it because you were there as the council liaison, a house at the corner of Cutler and Walnut. 40 window replacement. It's gentleman out of Holland, he plans on flipping the house.
That's the one that was gonna be tore down?
It's the one, it wasn't gonna be torn down, it was the one the neighbor wanted to tear it down, but
Correct.
HTC said, you know, we don't want you to tear it down, so they tabled it.
Corner from Mike Martin's house.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, yeah, across from the Jade Estate. They, spent quite a amount of time discussing 9 windows that had divided lights on the upper sash. And this, not home, it's a homeowner. The homeowner, the property owner, was not willing to change, not willing to do the divided lights, because that wasn't in the original application. However, after discussion with, you know, the commission, he said he'll look at doing some kind of divided light on 8 of the windows. There are 3/1s, you know, 3 divided lights over 1 open sash. And then the attic window is a 16 divided light window. There's, must be like 2-inch by 2-inch, you know, divide. And he goes, I just don't know where I'm gonna be able to find. I don't even know if that's even manufacturable. And, you know, so if he doesn't pull through with that though, and he just throws vinyl windows up there because he couldn't find the 3/1s, or realized it was cost prohibitive. And, you know,
Is
I
that
think the
particular-
HDC is what they, because HDC didn't discuss this that night, you know, Mayor Pro-Tem Bird, what you're bringing up right now. Of what is that level of commitment the city council has to them? So if they say, we're going, is city council gonna open up the pocketbooks and be willing to be, you know, the heavy hand on telling someone who's investing what amount of money it is to replace 40 windows?
And the fun of that is, it's not necessarily you have to replace it with what was in that building at the time. It just has to be historically accurate. So the timeline, if you had a single pane on the bottom, you could have had a single pane on the top. It's just, that's where you're like, when it comes down to enforcing it and you go to court on it, that's the whole fun of it, is who's gonna be right? You know, do we even have a historian on our HDC anymore? You know, because that, we don't have an architect or a historian there, which are 2 skills that were actually in the HDC ordinance for a reason, because you really need those there to be able to make and advise what was historically accurate for that structure and for that timeline.
And this will go back to like some of the fairly and equitably like assessed information, because it depends on who's on the commission, honestly, of what they are going to enforce or agree to and what they won't. You have a different commission now than you had before, who were just approving vinyl windows, and regardless of the sashes or the number of panes in them. And now we have a group that's saying you need to have this many because that's what's in there now. And this has been the problem with the group, partially in my mind, is it is very subjective. And so you can go forward a year apart and get a different answer, and that's just not
And that's why
acceptable.
I wanted a smaller district to make it more manageable
I
and
agree
make it
with
also that you could identify key structures that the community wants preserved. Right now, it just seems like we threw out a blanket over like neighborhoods saying, we want to preserve this whole neighborhood, and
Right.
it's, some of them, I don't know is necessarily should be that neighborhood. That's something that was kind of, that I was asking for, that I thought I was kind of asking for, was that involves doing that study committee, which is actually something that's within the HDC's power and authority in the current ordinances, is they can do that. They can do a study. If they want to use an external, they would have to come to us probably for a budget on it. If they wanted to do it internally, we can discuss it if we wanted any reimbursement of any additional cost and time that they're going to be investing into it.
Should we consider doing a survey of the historic districts?
It's either do the survey or just get rid of them in their entirety, is my kind of point on this whole thing was.
And when I'm talking survey, I mean assessment of historic characteristics, historic properties that are worth preserving for our community.
I thought they did that already.
No, not a.
I thought that we had like 70 or 80 contributing historical
That's from
things.
the original survey.
Well, not,
It changed?
Well, we haven't done a new survey since like when this was first established in the
I mean, we
80s.
got new ones that, other than the 70 that were already there?
No, I'm just saying, we haven't done a new survey to see if those 70s are even still worth preserving, because it's semi-subjective. It's based on what the community wants to preserve and what they don't want to preserve. So that's where you go out and you go, what are we looking to preserve? Are we looking to preserve churches? Are we looking to preserve certain time era of buildings? Because, of course, it's a 50 years makes it historic. So we're now looking at the 70s as historic. We could say we want to preserve 1970s housing.
And one of-
But we have to kind of say, what are we looking to actually preserve? And then that's what you go out and do your survey on.
And one of the things that would have made that initial survey more valuable is having better specific characteristics, qualities of each of the structures, each of the neighborhoods that would then be enforceable later on and say, no, this is important because it's in our historic survey. So I think it could be improved, and I think the CLG program even has some grants open right now to do that kind of work.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we did appoint like the study commission under the ordinance because they were gonna look at that work.
What's that? Say that again?
I thought we had appointed them, like, done the study group per the ordinance, because if you do the study group through council, it's charged with adding, deleting, the districts, adding to or.
Council
or
decided
taking
not
from.
to appoint the study group. It was done as like a study session of the HDC commission.
But that was a separate time, like after we went through everything and that motion failed again. I thought we had appointed them as I thought we had, because
I think we had
did we not get to that point again?
I don't remember an exact,
I think so, because I think we were gonna disband them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think we went on to beyond that after.
yeah, I don't remember.
We got
that.
new
Okay, and I was
members,
saying,
after
that
they
could have
got
just,
new
because
members and.
I've met with Jason a couple times, and I
Yeah.
know we had discussed,
I just don't remember
Doing that.
actually passing like a
like, we are appointing you as the study group to take a
do
look.
X, Y, Z. I don't remember us doing that. We've talked about it many times, but
Okay.
I don't think we've ever gone to just say, do it, and then here's your budget for it, and go, or start looking for grants or whatever to try to make it feasible to do this.
I would be amenable to that. I mean,
So did we not discuss also setting up a meeting with HDC and council again?
Yeah, they were gonna do this evening during the study session,
Oh, okay,
but the majority of them could not make this evening.
Okay.
So we called an audible at staff level, since we can do that with the agenda, and said, let's just give them updates on other projects.
okay.
And they also want to meet with representatives from SHPO to also get a better understanding of what the state law affords them that they can and cannot do.
Yeah, there's also
Just
some,
sounds like we're going back to square one. Again, around and around.
yeah,
Again.
right, it's Groundhog's Day.
And of course, when it comes to the whole how hard you're gonna enforce it, there is also in the HDC ordinance about hardships of making it, that's one of the reasons that you can, in essence, approve things that aren't perfectly accurate. The windows aren't wood, or the siding's not wood, it's cement board, but it looks just like wood. You know, because if you wanna go really historic, it just depends on if you're doing, so that's,
Is it aesthetic or
it
is
is,
it?
yeah, most of it's all aesthetic, but it's what some people consider aesthetic is like they don't want vinyl, because they view it's like, well, it doesn't look exactly perfect. But they'll accept cement board because it looks almost perfect and it will last a long time on the structure and they don't have to repaint it constantly. And that's what a lot of people in the historic district are looking as, that long-term cost of maintaining that structure in the district.
Yeah.
Paint is not cheap.
No,
Mike, any input on any of this, since you're kind of in the belly of the beast?
They weren't able to meet today, so don't really know what way we wanted to go. I'm glad we're having this discussion. They were unable to meet with the SHPO representative.
Right, he couldn't come down, or he couldn't make it.
I mean, you'd asked a question, Roger, about if we wanted to direct them to take a look at the sizes. I've been for that for a long time.
Yeah.
That would be under our ordinance 1360 is what gives that authority. typically it could be the council with recommendation from the commission may at time to time establish for additional districts or removal of districts. And if you're gonna remove them, it's 1360B is the steps that they would have to do to say why they're removing it. You know, it's the historic district lost its physical characterization, the historic district was not significant in the way it was defined, and the historic district was established pursuant to a defective procedure. So this is, you know, it's spelled out fairly well, and there would be, if we're gonna look at it, that's where we would actually do it at the established by ordinance, so we'd establish by ordinance them to look at that. Or ordinance to remove the sections or the districts.
And I think this is all a good start for them, but I still think we're not answering their question about,
Enforcement.
yep, enforcement. And I, like I said, Jason mentioned it when he was in here, when we had our meeting, was if they're gonna say, no, you can't do that, and somebody does it, why is anybody gonna,
Right.
you know?
How do these other cities do it?
We used to
can't
take
answer
people to court here.
Pardon me?
We used to take people to court here. I know because I've been notified by the 57th district to go to court for my dad's building. So we used to take them to court when they wouldn't show up at the meeting. If they didn't show up to the meetings that they were notified to come to, that their property was not in compliance, the next thing that they would do is they would send it out through the judicial. You now gotta show up to court because you didn't comply. Now, our fine is not less than $50 for the first offense. Doesn't define our upper end, but it's like 50, 150, and 300. 50 a first offense, 300, all the way up to 300 as the third offense. You know, but
Well, what I was saying is, that's across the board. Can't we change that for the historical district if you don't comply? If you are ordered to cease and stop
I
or
think so,
whatever?
as long as the fine is reasonable.
Yeah.
Can't
Take
be
a look at
excessive.
Plainville's fines. If you do something wrong with it, they're up to $2,500.
Even if they were $2,500 versus like taking out $30,000 worth of windows, someone's gonna choose that. And then that house then loses the historical
Well, then-
aspect
Then
again.
the next step is then we force it by getting a court order that we would go
Correct.
change it, and then we attach it onto the property. This is the procedures that.
Yeah, that's where it comes in, because if it's 40 windows and we have to hire a contractor and it's $2,000 a window, is the city willing to spend $80,000 of the general fund tax money to replace windows in a house?
To undo
Why would the
good
city
work that was
charge it?
already done.
We could attach it on the taxes.
Because
but
the
it would
court order is done by the court order says the city has the right to do this. So
Okay.
we'd have to hire a contractor to do the work. They don't pay the bill, we put it on their taxes. We get reimbursed by the county year one, and then year three, if that homeowner doesn't pay their county tax bill off, it goes to a tax sale, and if the county doesn't make the funds back, we have to pay the county back what our allotment was on this. That's what we've gone through on a couple of the properties that were demoed in the 2015. Ish years.
Yeah. I mean, so, I mean, honestly, the only way, personally, the only way that I really even want to have this conversation at all anymore is if we did a resizing of the HDC down to a very reasonable, very modest number of buildings in the city that are actually historically significant, that we really want to protect, you know, and we can probably sit here and name off 10 easily.
An important step for accomplishing that would be surveying the current historic districts, identifying characteristics and structures that are worth preserving.
And does that, do we, in order to do that meaningfully, do we have to have an outside person, or can that just be done by our HDC members?
We don't have to, but at this stage, I would recommend it because, as we talked about earlier, we don't have a historian or an architect on the board. And I think there would be a lot of benefit from an outside perspective, saying, no, this is a very interesting structure. You may not appreciate it because you've lived here your entire life and seen it your entire life, But this is
But-
unique and special.
That's taking in somebody from outside the community, and it really is a community standard that's setting down what we want to preserve, and then you're taking the influence of an outside person saying, well, you should preserve that because this is why.
The other thing I would
Allegan
expect
Historic.
from an outsider consultant doing this is facilitating discussions with the community. You're absolutely right. The opinion of what's worth preserving should come from the community, but identifying the characteristics of what it is. We hear lots of people in the community say, you've got a very quaint historic downtown, but I don't hear a lot of people telling me specifically what it is about that downtown. And I think that's where your expertise can really help. And again, I believe CLG program has grants, or there's open applications for grants right now to get that kind of work, and they could probably help us find the right people.
I think probably part of that charge of doing that would be, these have to be structures that we as council and we as a city are willing to go that final step of, we're gonna go in and preserve it if you're not.
I think we'll be a lot better informed once we've identified the characteristics and qualities that are worth preserving in our community, and then we can have a discussion about what it takes to preserve those. Some of it may come down to just simple zoning changes. Some of it may be more specific and worth keeping an HDC for. I don't know what that looks like right now, but I think having a lot better information would probably help.
So what would be our next steps if we,
So I'm hearing, changing the size of the zones. Is that something I should take back to them?
I would specify more surveying and identifying the structures, characteristics, qualities that are historic, worth preserving for the community. Because once we have that information, then we can go, oh, look, there's not really historic qualities in this district. We can probably eliminate that district or change it to zoning, because it's, but I think getting that first set of information that would then lead to that resizing. But taking it one step at a time is, and I think, again, CLG can really help with that. I think that's a great conversation to have with Alan Higgins. How have other communities done these surveys? How do we do them and find somebody to help us with it?
So is other council members in agreement with that before Mike goes back and talks to HGC about it?
In part, I don't know if I need an outside party, but I think they definitely should be reviewing these districts, even if they're doing, but.
Can you offer an alternative way to facilitate that or bring in expertise for it?
Bring in expertise for it.
Or, yeah, from within the community, because right now I don't know if we've got enough expertise on the board to do it.
does,
Probably first be, we could talk to the Historic Society and ask
Right,
if they
that's
have
what I-
anybody that would
that's what I
want to
thought.
volunteer to help on a project like this. Because they know the area, they know the history of it, they've got the books, they got the research that they can pull this stuff out. And they may be somebody, if we were to do something like this, that we would want on a review to do that. And then they're also in the community, in the Allegan area, which means they understand certain things that are historically why they would want to preserve it, not just because of the historical structure of it, it's because this specific historic person or this specific historic event, this was like the old Allegan Hospital, which, you know, a lot of people don't know, it was the old Allegan Hospital. Those are the type of things that you'd want to know when you're looking at the different structures, which ones are the highest on wanting to preserve, because it's not just the historic structure, it's also the historic significance of that structure.
community?
I agree that we definitely need to engage the Historic Society. I'm thinking more of facilitating, organizing it, knowing how to, put together this kind of information. That expertise, I don't know if we're gonna find that within the community. I would certainly be open to it, but it's probably worth going to CLG and saying, okay, what would this cost? What kind of grants are available for it? Because if it comes back and it's a couple $1,000s to get that information about what's truly historic and worth preserving in your community, I just think that's valuable information. Even if we were to get rid of the whole HDC, it would be worth understanding that before we make that decision.
And the HGC is trying to meet with SHPO, correct? They've been trying to have a
Yes.
meeting with them. So that's information that SHPO can provide when they have that meeting with them. And then at that point, I do like your idea, Peter, to reach out to the historic society here.
I agree.
So I don't want to speak for everyone, but Mike, I would say definitely to continue to try to meet with SHPO to get some of the standards and maybe processes on how to review districts and homes, and then also reach out to
To review
Allegan Society.
with an eye toward reducing.
reducing,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is that, you comfortable communicating that with them? That, I think, for me, that's a huge step in the right direction.
Okay. There's nothing else for roundtable?
Sorry, I didn't mean to take.
Yeah, right.
Didn't mean
Way
to
to
take
go, Raj.
45 minutes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is discussion regarding city council rules and procedures.
At your last meeting, we had the city attorney Nick Curcio here, and we discussed proposed changes to the rules of procedures. Some additional changes were discussed during that time frame, and all we want to do right now is make sure that we have covered what you wanted covered through this, and then we'll bring it for your adoption at your November 27th meeting.
Okay, go ahead, Delora.
Yeah, I was just say, I like the way that it's been presented, but I did see under, public participation, 6, number 3, it should say must not. It just says must.
Okay, 6.3 should be must not.
Yes.
What's this say? Under C, what are you at?
So, public participation under number 3.
C?
Oh, there we go.
Yep, so if you go to number 3,
So number 3,
the little 3, yep.
6.
Yep, C6, 3.
3, 6, 3.
C6, 3.
Gotcha, Roman numeral there.
Yes, so it says comments must
Oh.
be addressed to anyone other than the council or the mayor. It should say must not be addressed to anyone other than the council or the mayor.
Good catch.
So a not in front of B,
Correct.
we can do that.
And it's in the non-red line too, without the not, so.
Good catch. I didn't see that.
That is. Any other things you've noticed?
The rent material seems a little wonky because it's up in 3B that it's supposed to be but done before the meeting, but then it talks about it again in C3.
Yeah, so written material is if someone wants to just drop something off before the meeting, we want to be clear there. And then if just someone shows up and they're like, I want to show you this, it goes to the clerk's office, not to the board.
So written-
Oh, so like written comments if they just wanted somebody
If
to
they just want to
read,
submit a
or-
written comment, dear council, I'm in favor of the rezoning of item 14A or whatever. I'm just hypothetically making up things there.
All right, gotcha.
I wondered about that too, Peter. I'm like, why do we
I
talk
make
about
that
this
thing
so
to me,
many
that's a
times?
hypothetical scenario is what I. Oh.
Okay, anything else on that?
All right.
Okay.
We don't have to have anything
Next
there.
is the discussion regarding city council annual board of,
I was gonna
Laura?
ask, will we need to vote on this at a upcoming meeting?
Oh, yeah, so I started the presentation saying, we're going to bring this to you at your November 27th meeting for you to adopt.
I meant to.
attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Discussion regarding, next on the agenda is discussion regarding city council annual board appointments.
Sure, I'll start this. Michaela can correct me if I misspeak here. Essentially, we just wanted to share with you a memo and a report that says, hey, if this is the way we've done it in the past, if that's the way you want to continue it, that's fine. As you will know, we don't have as many boards as we do council members. So, I mean,
Glad to sit off, that would be.
there is a little bit of a, wonkiness that goes with that. And I would say some cities do it differently. I mean, every city does it a little different way. Some requires people to change over every year. Some cities say, once someone gets comfortable there, let's keep them there since they know the history of the discussion and keep moving, so.
And you know, it's funny you brought this up because as we're getting ready to vote tonight, I was thinking, I was on public spaces for 2 years. And the first year, it was kind of just getting involved and learning what they really do and what they talk about. Now I've been involved in the DDA, which is very interesting, but the Planning Commission is a lot of information. And so it's really kind of nice, I think, to be on there longer than a year. So I don't know. I don't agree with changing every year, but that's just my opinion.
We used to do that. I
Did
think, yeah, we used to do that when I was first elected, it was like every year, and then we kind of said, why don't we just kind of stay on where you're at if you feel comfortable there, because otherwise it kind of felt like
And I think that's why I stayed on public space when you were Mayor DeLauro.
we
Yeah.
were, and that was like, we all were kind of like, that's not making a lot of sense. Let's kind of stay at least 2 years. If after 2 years, you're like, you want to go to a different one, that's why you kind of bring it up now is, that's the time to kind of switch if you're looking to switch.
Yeah, maybe like midterm, like 2 years. 2 years on one committee, 2 years on another. I
don't
don't know.
think it's
But
in a
then the
hard
problem
line.
is like the mayor is required to be.
Correct, the mayor is on the
so
DDA and planning commission.
That kind of throws that off for the next mayor, so, or the whole term. I don't know.
Usually I would just put it if anybody's looking to switch, at the time of electing the mayor, that would be the time to kind of
I think
bring
that's-
that up at that time to say, hey, I'm looking to switch to everybody on council if there's anybody looking.
I think that's a good idea.
But don't we typically do that? The new mayor will say, if, tell me if you want to stay on the board, if you want a new assignment, and then hopefully try to accommodate. So I guess, what prompted this discussion? Was there an issue?
Nope. It was just staff having a conversation, saying, hey, it's that time of the year. Let's make sure the whole of the council is comfortable. And the other thing I would throw out there is you don't have to serve on a board if you don't want to. It's not a requirement, I would put out there, since we do have that thing. I mean, some people's lives get busy, and 2 meetings a month is the most they can squeeze into their busyness. But that's all. We just wanted to throw it out there to, keep at the forefront since it's that time of year.
So I guess the mayor can just reach out to everyone and make decisions then, right?
Everybody
If
okay?
everybody's happy, that's fine, yeah. Okay, next on the agenda is review of the City of Allegan Wayfinding Report. Parker, you gonna kick this off? Oh, see how you are, Joel?
Once Parker opens up the report. Yeah. So, what we want to do here is take a hot minute and share the report with council this evening. This is something that we're going to ask you to formally adopt at your November 27th meeting. That's a requirement of the grant funding we received from the MEDC. This project is a goal that council established for the 2023-2024 year under community development. Develop a comprehensive wayfinding signage plan for the Allegan community. Works fine at 4 o'clock, sorry, dude. So what we want to do is just kind of go through the document here, cover the different processes we went through, give council a chance to ask any questions that they may have. Full screen mode, you got it, thank you. And now the page system should work. So the process, more or less, that's displayed on the screen here is, we had a subcommittee that was comprised of area residents and a couple council members and staff. We met with the contractor. They refer to us as their client team. We then had a discovery session here in this council chambers with a handful of community members that were outside our subcommittee. They drove around the city, they did some research, they met with us some more, they came up with a wayfinding assessment that they call, and they developed a mood board development. The projects and goals are established here. This is in the plan. They're pretty straightforward and simplistic in my eyes. They wanted to develop a meaningful sign system. They wanted to increase the positive perception of Allegan, establish clear and concise messaging, produce easy to maintain and expandable signage, highlight the sense of place, make people feel safe, comfortable, and create community pride to attract visitors. I'm gonna go to that bullet point, make people feel safe. That usually doesn't jump to the front of your mind when you think about signs. How does the sign make people feel safe? But if you're new to a community and you park in parking lot, 1, and your friends are meeting you, and you say, hey, I'm in parking lot 1, they have a destination. And then if they say, hey, we're going to, pick your asset, we're going to the Regent Theater, and there's signs that direct them to the Regent Theater. That just, it creates a sense, they know where they're going. They feel like they belong, so there's that safety there. During that community focus group here with the external, people, they were given an opportunity to write down one word to describe the city of Allegan. You can see up there, obviously the words in the bigger bubbles were repetitive words. When they talked about just the downtown, you can see on the right-hand side the words that the people that were in this room came up with. This is all information we got directly from the community. Next one. Moving forward, they talked about what their ideal day would be in this city. What you see on the far right-hand side is actual notes from the participants. Excerpts are in the middle that they got from those notes. I would recommend they come during a summer weekend, which is interesting. And then the common themes, when people, what do you think about an ideal day? Those are the common themes that people saw. They then went through and said that if you're a resident, what are you looking for to do when you get here? What are perceived challenges as a resident? What would you want them to know about? And how would they benefit from this? So they did that for the mindset of a resident, the mindset of a business owner, and the mindset of a visitor. This is really just another mental exercise to get people thinking about the town differently. They then created journey maps. This is a picture of that process happening through here, where they said, coming in from M40, M89, so from the northwest, how would you tell someone to get to the sports complex? And people drew with highlighters and markers the route they would tell people to take. So they were taking a bunch of just individuals' opinions about what the community is, how they view travel paths through our community, and we're trying to really, combine all that together. The brand character spectrum, they had every participant fill one of these out. You'll see on the right-hand side the individual note sheets that were turned in. What you see on the left-hand side of the majority of the screen is really it's the summation of the results that we received, the averages.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
about this? Is the brand character spectrum, is that how people perceive what we are, or what people would like to see?
So that was a
Us being.
discussion they had during the meeting, and it really was, what do you perceive us to become? If I'm recalling
Where
that
we're
correctly,
headed.
Delora and Parker and Teresa, because you three were at that meeting.
Joel, real quick, how many people were at that stakeholder meeting? Do you remember?
20,
Maybe 2 dozen?
yeah, about 24. We think we planned for 30, and we had a handful of people, last minute
Yeah, I want to say
cancellations.
there were quite a few people there, I felt.
Yeah. So go back up real quick. So we then discussed this, the subcommittee discussed these results when we talked about like casual, sophisticated. What's the difference? And we kind of came to the conclusion that when we see sophisticated, we're thinking jacket and ties. When we see casual, we're thinking, jeans and sweatshirts kind of a thing. And understanding how the community views itself feeds into what the design should be. So it really is trying to create that brand. You can go to the next one.
I thought that one was really hard. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but just as a participant, and that's the feeling I got from everybody that was there, So it was, everybody was like right down the center. It just depended on which side of the center you were on. So personally, I was a little disappointed in the results because I was way on the side. But yeah, that one was really hard.
Then they kind of go, then we're gonna fly through some of these screens, because we're at 6:20 or whatever right now. And this is all in your packet and your report. But just establishing or recognizing signage really is the first thing people see when they come into your community. And it can be, you know, ornate, it can be bland. One thing we realized here is it is inconsistent. All of our signage from way back to the newer ones we've done don't build off one another. They don't feed off one another. There's not a consistent theme to it. Obscured. That bottom middle picture, it looks like a big bush. There is a green sign in there that says sports complex, correct?
Correct.
So there's a maintenance issue we run into with this as well. They also went through some of the other issues, or, you know, that they felt the city was struggling with, you know, one-way streets, poor lighting in some areas. We have a challenge if you're going from Holland, and I'm just gonna use Holland to Kalamazoo, M40, M89 to M40 to US 31. If you're trying to pull people into downtown, you just don't have an opportunity really. It's a bypass, really. So, you know, drawing people off the state roads was discussed. If you're going from 31 to the lakeshore, you go 222, but you skip the central business district because you're on the outskirts the whole time. Lack of sidewalk connections, hard to see the riverfront since it's behind the buildings. That's if you're downtown. You can kind of see it if you're on the M89 bridge coming up from Otsego and, you know, directing people to places to park. The example they gave is when they first came into town, they thought that parking lot was Country House Furniture's parking lot. And they weren't sure if that was a public parking lot or not across the street. Now, if you're from here, well, of course it's a public parking lot. But for them, they're just like, are we allowed to park across there to go over the street to City Hall? So, stuff for us to be aware of as we go through this. Next. This really gets into the science of the signs. As you'll see, there's a community map. This shows the different venues and facilities. So when we had that community meeting, people ranked the top 2 or top 3 areas they thought that, you know, people need to be made aware of. And you can kind of see where this stuff kind of had some ranking in here. The county fairgrounds, the parks, the downtown.
All right, I'll go through these quick.
Yep. This shows entrance, you know, pathways, the primary stuff. These are perceived gateways. So each of the circles is where people think, I'm now arriving to Allegan. We have primary gateways on the main roads, but we also have secondary gateways like Delano Avenue. If you're coming in, you know, you hop off onto Delano, that's a secondary gateway. Keep going. And we'll just show themselves. This then jumps into the downtown area. Keep going. Our primary pathways into the fairground area. And then the decision points on when people have to make decisions. This is our sports complex pathways. This is the comprehensive one, so we laid each of those on top of each other, and where we have, you know, different decision points that line up with one another. Our arrival and entry points coming into the downtown area, perceived gateways into the downtown area, how we get people to the library, decision points getting them to the library and Griswold, Parker and Ryan. The Regent Theater, how we get people there, the decision points people make, how we get people to the riverfront, decision points. And so you can kind of see the rhythm of this. So just, and then the comprehensive stuff for the downtown, for vehicular. Then we talked about pedestrians, how do we move people on foot through this area? Pedestrian decision points, strategy and recommendations. So this is what I'm going to call is a mind map that, you know, people go through when they're going somewhere. So this is for visitors who will be landing here. The first thing you do is some research and planning. why do you want to go to, Traverse City? Well, I'm going up there because it's wine festivals or whatever. And then you make your journey, you drive up there because you Googled how to get up there. Then you arrive, you orient yourself, you engage, you take pictures of the food you're eating, and then you leave, and then you share your experience. We also, through this process, identified in the assessment, what the nomenclature would be. There is a science to the size of the font, depending if you're walking, if you're driving 25 miles an hour, or if you're driving 45 miles an hour. So you start seeing some of those nomenclatures, message boards, word placement, etc. For our hierarchy, it is welcome to the city. How do I get to the sports complex, the fairgrounds, or downtown? Because a lot of the destinations are in the fairgrounds, or in the downtown, not the fairgrounds. Except for that 1-2 week period when the whole town goes there. We looked at different sign types. So you got the gateways coming in, your citywide vehicular directionals and the city-owned, parks and so forth, or downtown gateways, vehicular directionals, parking, trailblazers. This directs you to parking lots or parking lot identification. Then information kiosks, pedestrian directionals, and then for the riverfront. You can just skip through these. So go back one. Sure. So we're like 50% of the way through the process, if you think of it that way. We haven't gotten to, we want the sign to look like X. So the recommendations after we went through those meetings, went through the assessment, is establish sign and messaging hierarchy, create recognition, reflect the community character, find other ways to activate certain spaces, clearly identify public parking, remove historic district signage. The entire downtown would be referred to as historic downtown, capitalize on crowds. So when people are leaving places, find a way to put signage at key points that directs them where they need to go. And then less is more, remove or consolidate existing signage. Create a standard map for kiosks. And then use historic interpretive storytelling for the overall visitor experience. The programming, this map shows you where the different signs are going to be for the citywide vehicular. So you will see, use your cursor.
Yeah, where you wanna go?
The stars represent the perceived large gateway signs. And then you'll see the small vertical line, the smaller stars are the secondary ones. Then you'll see the small vertical line with the little hump. And those colors all reflect to citywide vehicular, citywide trailblazer for the hospital, downtown gateway, et cetera, all the way down. When you go to the next shot, this gets us into the downtown where we introduce where our different signs will be in the downtown area, including the parking lot identification signs. We go to the next one, we'll just fly through this. These are for pedestrian sign types and riverfront kiosks locations, keep going. Primary identification signs, these are park identifiers, so there you got mountain bike, sports complex. Those are the industrial parks. These are the identifiers for the downtown. We can keep going. This is all in the packet. Just keep going. This gets to our rough budget to do all these signs, and the total number of signs is 115 signs. And then our zone keys in this area, keep going. And if this is in your packet, you can see some of the signs. So you see the sign ID, you see the message, you see the description. Again, a lot of detail is into this. Go to the overall design page.
Yep.
Yes. So for the schematics, they take all those meetings and information they got from those meetings. The mood and inspiration is friendly, beautiful, active, safe, rising, and riverfront. You can see the color palettes that came out of those discussions. as well as the review of the city, a citywide palette, a downtown palette, a riverfront palette. You can see this is the concept direction. We're going for citywide vehicular sign family. Work your way across, next one. This is our downtown sign family, where we're going. And I'm gonna throw the words out there again, this is the concept. They give us some dimensional measurements, so we have some idea of height, location, et cetera, but we don't have full CAD drawings, construction drawings. Again, we paid for the plan, and this is the plan. But it gives us an idea. We're looking for, 3D channel lettering on our gateway signs, so they're bold and they pop. This shows location of where those could go. Clearly, we're going to work with some property owners. What? There's a current sign there. Yeah, we know. We know. Fully understood. Fully understood. Some secondary signage, what it look like. Again, this is, the concepts. And this was, Delora, you were on the last phone call. Teresa, you were recovering. I got the feeling these were well received by the steering committee. Again, showing the different, just sign concepts, how they would work. These are the sign families. Continue. You just flip through these. Go back one. So this was unique because they think in the downtown, there's a handful of design elements in the downtown that we could incorporate into the sign design. Starting on the left or the right side is a brickwork that is present at the Griswold. And they thought you could tie that into it. The next one, the X's, that really is on our bridge. So we could pull that into it. The zigzag, that's also on our bridge. The step, the spindles, our fences are like that. And then the far one, the X with the ornate vertices or whatever they're referred to, that is our boardwalk fencing topper. So again, really trying to pull stuff in. This is a sign, showing how we would identify entering into the downtown Allegan. This is moving around downtown. We're gonna stop here for a second. These are concepts. The public parking sign, the P. So the DDA wants to name all of our parking lots 1 through 8. 1 through 8. And they have a good map. Mark Heather and Michelle Liggett took on that project. When I looked at this sign, I saw an opportunity to put that number in the bottom right-hand corner beneath the P. And so it's P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, P7, P8. And then other people we've shared it with say that's interesting because it's kind of like I can't believe I'm drawing a blank again since my wife was a chemist. The periodic table
of elements.
So, yeah. What is the periodic table? And they're like, that also could be a little bit of a homage to Perigo and their chemistry that is, in our community's history. So there's kicking around that idea of, it identifies that parking lot as P1 or P2 all the way through 8, but also there's a little unique history that if you know it, you know it. It's like some insider baseball there, inside baseball. The other idea is on our pedestrian signs downtown. You'll see on the right side of the screen, the subtle blue beneath the destination. So it says Regent Theater, 2 minutes. So do we. The Guide Studio encourages this a lot because it helps people realize, that riverfront is only a 4-minute walk. We don't have to hop in our car after having breakfast at Minnie's and drive to the riverfront. We can just walk down the street. So stuff like that. That's probably not even a 4-minute walk. That's probably a 2-minute, depending on how fast you walk. So, and here's some other examples. Again, that's why I was going with concepts because we're playing with colors. The downtown wants to be, a little more lively when it comes to color placement. So they were throwing around some ideas on how to approach that, how to attack that. Archways, go to the next one. Identifying where the riverfront is an important part of this process. And then they threw together what signage could look like for the social district boundary maps that we have to improve on. And then they refined the numbers at this part and came in with a different budget. That's why you see two budgets in it. Questions, discussion? This will be at your next meeting for your approval.
I love the look, I love the direction they're going. I know we've still got tweaks, but
Approval
I
to
love it.
purchase or approval of the, accepting the plan? Are we at our next session to accept the plan or?
Accept a plan, only to accept a plan. Yeah. So the cost for this product was $37,000, I believe. The MEDC paid for 75%. They've already paid 50% of that 75. For them to get the other 75, for us to get the other 50% from the MEDC, your local legislative body has to accept the plan. They don't want staff just to, be running and gunning, so that's why we're bringing it back for you guys to accept it. You are not accepting the budget, the cost, none of that. You're just saying, this is the plan, we adopt this plan.
This is my hill to die.
So, so we'll be bringing this to you for your full approval at the next meeting. And by approval, again, you're just adopting the plan. We then have a lot of work in front of us to, go to that next phase of the project, which is doing the construction drawings, establishing a budget. Here's some better pictures that I grabbed that Parker put on the screen of that community meeting when people were, engaged in discussing, where we should go. Yeah,
As a member of that planning and the steering committee and being at that stakeholders meeting, I'll say this whole process was very, very awesome to be a part of. I mean, to see how it all came together, to see that the community was so invested in some of that, it was really, really nice. So I appreciate council letting me be on that steering committee. Thank you, Teresa, for nominating me for that, but it was very, very cool to be involved with.
It was fun, yeah.
So after we accept the plan, what's the next steps? Are we gonna get together as a council and look at it and evaluate where we wanna be on a budget? Because when I'm talking budget here, it's like, we have a lot of streets that need repaving, and we've talked about that they need like 300K or whatever amount per year. We have to look at it and prioritize and say, how would we implement this, and start looking at that, because I ain't gonna approve a $1.2 million for
They
new
talked about-
signage without.
Yeah. They talked about phases. They don't necessarily recommend doing things in phases, if I remember right from that last meeting, but they had said that there are communities that just do phasing in of the signage.
yeah, so Laura's correct. They talked about phases. I would say they phrased it as in, it would be great if you could do it all at once. Of their hundreds of communities they've worked with, one or two have been able to do it all at once. They fully understand. And so what the DDA discussed when they got this presentation was, last week, what they discussed was, let's see if we can't figure out a way to get the parking lot signs done. Because because the streetscape's done. So if there's a way for us to move forward with that, that could be really beneficial. And then, it's gonna be a discussion with, council saying, this is where we think we're comfortable and we can pull this stuff off. Or this stuff, just isn't comfortable until we find, revenue for it elsewhere.
Joel, do you know if the MEDC has many grants available for like actually signage, not just planning? Is that?
So that is something I can look into. I don't know off the top of my head.
Any further questions, Donna? Okay. Next on the agenda is the review of downtown infrastructure and streetscape project update and downtown refuge program implementation. Joel, you gonna take this, or Parker?
Yeah, sure. I can grab both of these. So in your packet, you got your monthly report for November. You saw the work that was completed. You see where they are right now. It's going to go fast before what I am going to call what is a pause in the work downtown. Just when they get the stripes down, when the top course is going down tomorrow, the stripes going after that, the lights will be on within a week. The veneer will be done probably by the end of this month, middle of December. That's the stone veneer. We're going to think that this project's done because it's going to look done, it's going to feel done. But we're going to have a punch list that we may not be able to address until spring because of winter weather. We are installing speakers as part of this program. You may recall we used to have speakers on the streetlights, so we're working with Severance to come up with a program to get speakers into some of the landscape beds so we can continue to play music downtown like we used to. That's been requested by several downtown property owners to go back to music downtown. So we're still going to be working through some of this stuff over the winter months and spring. But, so far, things are going very, very well with this project. For the downtown refuse, I just wanted to tell you the dumpster enclosures have all been formed. They're going to be putting up that siding over the next couple weeks. We've had 2 meetings here with the property owners about the fee system that's going to be implemented. Those bills should be going out later this week. They will have up until December to, lack of a better phrase, appeal what the invoice says. We do want to give property owners the chance to say, well, wait a second, you say I have 2 apartments, but there's only 1 apartment, it was combined 4 years ago, and we just didn't get record of it for some reason. So we do want to give the property owners a chance to appeal the data we have. And then we should be bringing that to you, probably your first meeting in December of where we are, or your second meeting in December for us to start that program. We won't be doing the dumpster behind the Regent until next year, though, because that's going to get a new skin and a new facelift and stuff, but we're going to wait till next year to do that one.
Is that to coincide? Is that to coincide with the
Yes.
HVAC?
Yeah.
Yes.
Coincide with the HVAC we're doing, as well as to coincide with parking lot restoration that we'd like to do back there as well. That's going to be next year, hopefully.
I still say that parking lot's in better shape than the one on Water. That one was actually done more recently than the one on Water too.
Yeah.
None of them are in great shape.
Well, Water, gee, that thing's Powell City.
The parking lot across the street, I hope is still in good shape.
It's in good shape.
And maybe the riverfront one.
That's
But the
why I
rest are
changed
really, really,
my
they leave something
statement.
to
I
be
modified it.
desired. Yeah. Just to respond, Peter, we are looking at the one on Water Street too, on what a crush and shape would look there.
I have a question. Why did they tear up the new concrete going down to the riverfront across from Sherwood's Cove?
That would have been our sewer, that was,
Ash-
yeah,
is
at the
it-
very beginning, it was the sewer main. That was it,
No, like right now.
Yeah. There was some cracking that had happened in that new concrete when they brought down some heavy equipment over the new concrete.
they're doing
Yeah.
that right now?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be asphalt then, or is it gonna be
concrete.
They're
concrete?
gonna replace it with concrete.
Yeah.
So it was new concrete. They
I just
took
seen
some-
it
Yeah, yeah,
today. I
gotcha,
went to
good.
Class Act
Yep.
today and I
No,
just
I'm
seen
glad you
it.
brought that up.
I thought you meant the drive going down. I think it was concrete on the other side, but maybe, yeah, but no.
No. when
Yeah,
they
we
brought
noticed
some-
the heavy equipment cracked
Drive.
that concrete. And so that's why I wanted to say there's gonna be ongoing work. Because we're gonna have this punch list. We've identified 2 sidewalk squares that have what Jeff Morey has taught me. The layman's term is called bird baths. So when it rains, there's 2 sidewalk squares, like one right next to on the grid, that 2 days later, Peter, Councilmember Hans sent me the picture first. He goes, something's wrong here. It hasn't rained in 2 days and there's still water here. So we noticed that, and then there's one further down by Sherwood's Cove where it puddles up, and so we want to address both of those. I just want to share with council that there is going to be, it's going to look like it's all done. We're not going to close this project out until the punch list is all signed off, until, you know, all the landscaping passes next year, the leaves come in on the trees. You know, we have, you know, warranties on those, et cetera.
I was just curious if somebody screwed up or somebody changed their mind or what happened, so, okay. Thank you.
Just real quick about the budget. I see we really haven't had many amendments to our budget projections, and we're getting pretty close. Are we expecting many more? I mean, clearly, we're under the 10% change order, so we're holding pretty good right now, and we're almost.
Yeah, I would offer, we're holding very, very good. What we discussed on Tuesday, or last Tuesday, was the last money coming in, or the last amendments and adjustments. It's going to be called, what's called balancing at the end of the project. You guys looking at Tracy over there? So she's very nervous about this stuff. So the balancing.
We're seeing her smiles.
I can see your smiles. I'm going to put a camera on there. So the balancing works in like, you know, they're going to use, you know, 40 yards of asphalt. They use 38. So we're going to get a credit. Or they're going to use, you know, 30 yards of concrete, and they use 31 yards of concrete. So we might have to pay a little bit more. But it's that kind of stuff that is, you know, going to happen right now at the end.
At the end as of next spring when we
Next spring.
finally
Yeah,
get
when we have the
everything.
punch list and we walk through everything.
Everything's
and-
okay, okay.
Yeah, we sign off on everything. I'm very excited that this was supposed to be a 2-year project, and we got it done in 1
I
year.
know, me
The,
too,
the super majority, the downtown will be open within a year.
right,
Very thankful Millbacher was able to pull that off.
yes, exactly.
It was rough going through it, but it's great that it's done.
Yeah, I had a business owner just explain that it was a really rough experience, but then when I told her, like, this was supposed to be 2 years, and because of, you know, whatever, the contractor was able to do it in 1. She's like, oh my gosh, I guess I didn't really realize that. So she said it would be worth it. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully the pain will all be worth it.
And the other thing, kudos to Millbachers is, like I said, I was at Class Act today, and them girls were very grateful that if they had an elderly person or a wheelchair person, they just contacted the contractor if that street was, and they would let them pull right down the street and unload in front of their building and see that that person got in. So kudos to Millbachers. I think it's awesome. Again, I've said it a million times that we went local, and they have really worked with us. Awesome, I think.
They've been great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. If there's nothing else, moving on is the review of the council agenda for tonight. This isn't the agenda, but I did see that we have amended minutes. There's just that one change. Okay. All right. Everything else on the agenda is good? All right. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting at 6:48 and reconvene at 7 PM. I would like to call the regular council meeting to order, please. Michaela, would you like to do a roll call for us, please?
Sure. Councilmember Zeter,
Present.
Councilmember Hands,
Present.
Councilmember Andrus,
Here.
Councilmember Redding,
Here.
Councilmember Morgan,
Present.
Mayor Pro-Tem Byrd,
Here.
and Mayor Galloway.
Here,
You have a quorum.
thank you. At this time, if we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. 4A is approval of the regular council meeting agenda for November 13th, 2023. And no changes.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is number 5, approval of minutes. 5A, approval of the study session meeting minutes from the October 23rd, 2023 council meeting.
I move we accept the study session meeting minutes from October 23rd.
Second.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is 5B, approval of the regular meeting minutes from the October 23rd, 2023 council meeting. And the approval ones have been handed out to us at our spot tonight.
I make a motion to accept the amended meeting minutes from October 23rd.
Second.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, number 6 is special presentations and recognitions by mayor or council. 6A is the selection of mayor and mayor pro tem. Joel, you going to take this?
Yep, so I'll take over at this moment. The first meeting after the general election in each November, the city council has what we call the selection of the mayor and mayor pro tem. This is a process, it's established in our city charter where our mayor and mayor pro tem is selected by the 7 council members to serve in those roles for the upcoming next 12 months. So the way this works is Michaela's gonna pass around postcards. At the top of the postcards, one says mayor, one says mayor pro tem. I will open the floor for nominations for the position of mayor. That person has the right to say, thanks, no thanks, I don't want to be the mayor. And then then I'll close nominations once nominations are done. And then we will write down who we would like to be the mayor. Michaela will gather those back up and tally the votes, and that person becomes the mayor. And then we do the same thing for Mayor Pro Tem. Any questions from council on this process? All right, then just very quickly, I'm going to open the floor for nominations for the position of mayor.
I nominate Roger Byrd.
Since you didn't automatically decline, I assume you're okay?
I will accept. Thank you, Teresa.
Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Dave Redding.
I appreciate it, but I won't accept it this time.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? All right, I'm going to close the nominations right now. Please use the postcard, write down the name, and Michaela will walk around and pick up those postcards.
No, you don't have a choice. We could pass some of it. She probably don't want anybody to see. It's a secret, probably.
And for the vote for mayor, we have 7 votes for Mayor Pro-Tem Byrd.
You can shift seats now, or you can wait till after the Mayor Pro Tem vote is done. I'm now going to open the floor for nominations for the Mayor Pro Tem.
I would like to nominate Peter Hans as Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd accept.
I'd like to nominate Dave Redding.
I'll decline it this time. Thank you again, though, Mike.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing no nominations, I'll go ahead and close the nomination process.
Gotta get rid of these contacts. Had an eye appointment on Monday and trying contacts. And it's like, my eyes are not like, all week it's been about a weekend.
For Mayor Pro Tem, we have 7 votes for Peter Hans.
We are tonight.
Yeah, we're just gonna stay
We're
like
just gonna
this.
stay like this tonight, and we can rearrange this. Next on the agenda, number 7.
We have a new mayor.
I don't have to do this.
Go ahead, Teresa.
That's where I was going. I was like, Roger, you take over the meeting now.
All right, she's taking over. That's hilarious. For our next item, this is going to take a little getting used to. Our next item, number 7, first reading of ordinances and scheduling of public hearings. Item 7A, first reading and scheduling of a second reading and public hearing for the November 27th, 2023 council meeting for ordinance 516 to amend chapter 17, 20, and 22 of the City of Allegan Code of Ordinances. Joel?
Chapter 19, right?
Yeah, the agenda is incorrect, but the report is correct. It is 19, 20, and 22. Thank you, former Mayor Galloway. So at your October 23rd, 2023 study session, you received an update to proposed changes to Chapter 19, which addresses our peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants, amendments to the Planning Commission, or Chapter 20, which deals with our Planning Commission, and then, again, changes to Chapter 22, which deals with sales. As part of the report in your packet, you received a summary of the changes. You received a red line copy of the changes and so forth. So this is a first reading for tonight. We will be holding a second reading and a public hearing at your next meeting on November 27th. Are there any questions to these proposed changes? Then we need a motion to schedule the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to schedule the public hearing.
I'll support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
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 No, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. So, next item, number 8, public hearings and adoption of ordinance. Item 8A, second reading and public hearing and adoption for ordinance 515 to amend chapters 8, cemeteries of the City of Allegan Code of Ordinances. Do we start with the public hearing?
Typically, you receive a staff report,
First?
and then you go into the public hearing and then discussion amongst council. So for this item tonight is a review, it's a second hearing, a second reading and public hearing regarding the changes to the proposed cemetery ordinance. As we discussed at a previous study session in the first reading at your meeting in October, what we addressed through this was changes to the rules and regulations. Also adding a section about reclamation of vacant cemetery lots and burial spaces. Any questions from the council to staff about the proposed changes?
No, I think we've been over it, yeah. All right, so now we'll open a public hearing at 7:12. Anyone who wishes to speak on this matter can step to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:12. Going lefty. All right, item 8B.
We have to have a vote.
Oh, we gotta have a vote. So can we get a motion to approve the adoption for ordinance 515 to amend chapters 8 for cemeteries?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next item, written petition, number 10, written petitions and reports. What's that? Oh, B, I crossed it off already, sorry. 8B, thank you, Mayor Pro-Tem. Public hearings and adoption of Resolution 23.30 to add 605 North Eastern Avenue, Lot 22, to an existing industrial development district. Joel?
Sure. So for the staff report is, this resolution expands our industrial development district in our industrial park. Back in 1993, when this was first created, for some reason, the council at that time left out Lot 22. We have a property owner in that area that would like to make some investment on Lot 22 and, potentially take advantage of some of the tax abatements that the state allows properties to do in industrial development districts, and has requested that we, amend our district and add Lot 22. We do have we do have a property owner here in the audience tonight that may want to speak to this during the public hearing.
All right. So. You want me to speak? We will open the public hearing at 7:14.
So I'm the property.
Will you come up to the podium, please? We're recording, so people at home need to be
Okay.
able to hear you.
So I'm the property owner, and this is one of the last lots that we can build on in the industrial park. And so I'm getting ready to build a 60 by 200 foot addition and add some additional equipment to that area because I'm out of space where I'm at right now. Okay? Good,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? No, and I will close the public comment, or public hearing at 7:15. Is any discussion from council?
I make a motion to adopt resolution 23.30.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
One abstention. All right. So moving down to number 9, public comment. Anyone that wishes to speak on items not on the agenda, you can come forward. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Mary Cowarn, and actually, my address isn't in the city, but it's 2566 122nd Avenue, Allegan, Michigan. So I'm here to tell you that we're moving closer to creating a food policy council for the county, and we want to base some of our operational operational issues or things, programming in the city, of course. And so we're just on the verge of getting our nonprofit, so that'll be really exciting. We already registered a L3C as the Allegan Community Food Hub, because we're looking at bringing a food hub to the city. We'd love it to be at the bowling alley if we can figure out a way to finance that. But very, very close to having a bank account. So we're all moving really, really forward to that. A food hub is an aggregation of everything food related, and so we're looking at bringing a food club in, a meal program that could be after school kind of meal program, maybe a pay what you can restaurant that would be farm to table. That would be our dream. A farm store, commercial kitchen so that people could process their stuff and go straight into the farm store. Big garden. We actually don't have very many community gardens in the county. We have like one in Wayland. So a big garden and also a demonstration kitchen. So all around teaching, all around food. And the council itself will have, have members that are in restaurants and composting of food waste, emergency food. But the hub will be aggregation of everything food related. So really just looking at how do we bring better access to good food for the county and specifically for the city. We're looking at feasibility studies. We didn't hear back from the Michigan Health Endowment Fund, but we're looking at MDARD and a few other possible grants to do the feasibility study. So we don't know if that site will work or if we can even get it, but that's our dream. So just wanted to tell you, it was kind of lots of developments that made my heart happy today. So just wanted to share that.
Great, thank you, Mary.
And we'll give you more details and maybe a PowerPoint at some point in time. So, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else for items not on the agenda?
Hello, my name is Greg King. I'm the Senior Business Solutions Manager for Lakeshore Advantage, the economic development organization for Allegan and Ottawa counties. It's been a little while since I was here, but at first I want to say congratulations to our new mayor Pro-Tem. I'd also want to say thank you for approving the industrial development district request that we worked on with city staff. So I think we've got a couple exciting projects coming your way, hopefully here in the next term for you folks. So this is definitely not the last you'll see of me, but just want to let you know there's a lot of exciting industrial development going on in the city and the surrounding areas, and that we're here to support the city and the city council in any way we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Good evening, everybody. Again, I'm probably sure you know me, but my name is Mary Jo Berry, 533 Maple Street, right here in Allegan. I was here the last time and heard the comments that were made in that letter regarding Ron Jones. I hated that we had to go that route, but I truly understand. I'd like to come down here and hear about other stuff besides Mr. Jones, what the city of Allegan's doing, with the roads being tore up, what's coming to Allegan. I don't know how to resolve it. I'm just here as I don't even want to say a go-between, just a resident of Allegan who wants it over. You don't want to see somebody in the street and they mention it, or you just kind of want to clarify it. Where did we go? Where did we go wrong? Where did the communication really break down? What happened? How can we get around it? I know he feels he was treated unfair. I know he feels that he wasn't heard. I know, and he knows how to talk to people, but he gets so up here and not thinking before he lets the words out. I guess something about a letter you guys sent, and it said it's your responsibility to get it turned down in your name, and he, I guess, chose not or didn't get it in his name, and someone else put it in their name. So I think he was feeling that, okay, you send me a letter and tell me it's my responsibility, but when I don't do it, you have somebody else do it. So Are you infringing on my benefits? Can you do that legally? Did she sign my name to something that it was my responsibility to do that? You know, all these thoughts is going through his head, and I'm trying to listen to what he says and what you folks say. I mean, I know we can, as a small community or big community, we can get past this and find some way to resolve it. No one wants to come here and hear that. I don't. I'm sure y'all don't. But maybe we can start over. You know, I know we can't please everybody, but I think if we start, we're like, okay, that's what Allegan does. You know, we find a solution. We just don't let it, you know, kind of sweep it under the rug or think it's going to go away, because sometimes it doesn't, and it gets way worse than it really needs to be. God bless you. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Jody.
Well, I ain't gonna say my name. Y'all better be glad she went first, but it's not gonna help you, it's not gonna save you, especially you, because you was the dummy that read that letter last week about how I talked to these women. Because I said something about walnuts or chestnuts or chin nuts or something. You guys got very offensive. So I ask you this, where was your balls at? If it's what I said was so offensive, I heard what she just said. This is why I don't go a little bit deeper. But she's right, because anybody have no business turning nothing on in my name. And you know it too. And you know it too. It was wrong and still wrong. I'm still got to pay for a service that I'm not getting. I don't care how y'all dress it up, wrap it up, and say Merry Christmas. It's still wrong. So therefore, right, y'all had to go in the back room, get a clock, because of me. So when the people in charge of making the rules change the rules to suit them, that tells me a lot. You guys went in the back room. You didn't use the N-word. Yeah, you probably did. You guys don't like the way I talk to you. Okay, it's not my fault. You guys should have tried to settle this, squash this before, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, every man up here, where were your balls at? You didn't open your mouth until Joe died, put his hand up your back like a dummy. Joe has alleged sexual allegations. Sexual allegations, you guys won't even check into it. I probably know why now, because, well, you know what? Opinion isn't where it's at, all right? Man, this is not right, and you know it. Okay, but. Okay, wait a minute, this is not on the agenda, Why are you saying anything?
Talk about your water issue.
No, well, they're not doing anything about it.
Okay, so
Saying something on is gonna change it. You know what? That's why they brought you in here, to do this right here. That's why they brought you in here, okay? I'm glad you're getting your overtime. Okay, close your ears.
All right, so Mr. Jones,
But I'm just saying, right? You guys started this. I didn't start this. You wouldn't even know nothing about me if you had did this the right way. If you had did this the right way, you wouldn't know nothing about me. I'm trying to do something better for this city, and you want me to pay for something I'm not getting. It's not fair. It's not fair. You guys don't like the way I talk to you. No, you don't like the response that you're getting from me because you guys started something. You started this. What if I said it was so offensive, how come you guys didn't say something while I was saying it, like the police officer just did? At least he did say something. I give them the utmost respect. At least they spoke up. She called me a liar. I don't have to lie to her. She don't like the fact I don't stand up for a flag. I didn't call her a bitch. I called her a witch. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. You got your hand up people's back. You're the biggest fool up here. Shit about you.
any other public comments?
No profanity.
Why not?
Because I said so.
Who are you?
It's disorderly.
All right,
As soon as another customer comes, you're leaving.
sorry.
I'm leaving.
Thank you, officer.
That's what they want you to do.
We're good. All right. Moving on to item 10. 10A, request from the Allegan District Library.
So this letter was in your packet. It's a request from the Friends of the Allegan District Library on the Allegan District Library letterhead. They are partnering with the Allegan Brass Collective to bring a holiday concert to the community. This is the annual Christmas at the Griswold event. It's a treasured local tradition. Both the library and the Brass Collective consider a gift to the residents. They're requesting that they get to use the Griswold space at no cost. And they would like, it's something we've done in the past, it's something they'd like to continue to do. Through our Griswold rental policy, we do allow people to request to use that for free. One thing I would just remind council is, in our policy, we do have the line, I believe it is, or point, that if you use our sound and light, it is $200, per event. And I think this is a 2-day event is what they're requesting. So if you want to stay true, if you want to continue that, you'd have to just say, yeah, you may use it for free, but you will have to pay that $200 for that sound and light. They do use Ryan Berza for sound and light.
So, any questions from council for staff or discussion?
I think if we would approve it, it would be
Would that
free with these.
$200 per day or?
$200 per day, because we have to have our sound and light technician there, and that is a direct cost. We've also asked in the past a lot of times if we give the use of the Griswold for free, to put the city of Allegan somewhere on their information to say, sponsored or supported or whatever, just like something. So that would be the two things that I would want if we were to offer this at no cost.
I'm in agreement with that, Peter. I would be supportive of that.
Now, did this say, was this a paid concert or is it a free concert?
This is a free concert.
So, community event as well, free to the public, at no cost to the city. We're not paying for the brass band. I'm assuming they're gonna take care of any ushering or anything that they may need, or you're gonna have people there probably to help with that? That it's not gonna be our city staff doing that?
Correct, yep. The only city staff being requested for this event is Ryan Berza for sound and light technician for rehearsal and then the Saturday night event.
Any other, Bill, anything?
Oh, no, I just want to know if it was $200 per night or just total.
I think it's per night,
All right, thank you.
because Ryan was needed both on the rehearsal night and the performance night.
Any other questions or thoughts? All right, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the request from the Allegan District Library with a caveat that they pay $200 each night, so a total of $400 for a sound and light technician. And also that they advertise Allegan City as a sponsor of the event.
We have a second?
I'll support that motion.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Moving on to item 11. City boards, commissions, and area agencies. Item 11A1, Historic District Commission November meeting. Mike, you want to take that for us?
We went over, our discussion or, lack of discussion, during the study session. But we did have an application come through, and he had interesting grid work in the windows, and we discussed that with him. And so he's going to attempt to match that up with vinyl windows. And then we were gonna meet with Alan Higgin, and he was unable to. And so we're still working through.
Great, thanks, Mike. Item 11A2, Downtown Development Authority. Teresa, you want to take that?
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Basically, we've discussed what we discussed tonight. We went through the downtown improvement project, and the, something we did talk about was the November 25th ribbon cutting event. That's going to take place down on the new Trowbridge Plaza on the Saturday the 25th at 11 a.m. So Anybody who can attend is welcome. And then we reviewed the wayfinding signage, excuse me, exactly what we went through tonight at study session. And then the downtown refuge and recycling program, that the steel's gonna be hung hopefully this week, so. I think that was it, because there wasn't any other open discussions or anything, so that was it.
All right. Great, thank you, Teresa. Item 11A3, Public Spaces Commission. Bill?
Yes. At our meeting, we discussed the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We went over that with any suggestions and so on. We never really came up with anything other than landscaping and things need to be freshened up. We threw out other ideas. On Oakwood Cemetery, the pillar reconstruction was going to be $76,000 to replace what they have right now. That we want to change and see other opportunities to change it and see what we can do to downsize that cost. Reviewed the downtown project. Other than that, wasn't a whole lot going on in it.
Great, thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
11A4, Construction Board of Appeals. Joel?
Yeah, so the Construction Board of Appeals is the board that exists when someone wants to appeal a determination of our building official. In the late part of the summer, we received a report from a family member helping someone move out of a house at 105 Elm Street, that the condition of the house just should not be allowed to continue for someone to live in. So our building official did an inspection during that process and came to the conclusion that there were several violations, code violations, and lack of a better phrase, the home was condemned. The property owner appealed the building official's decision. That appeal goes to the Construction Board of Appeals. Through that meeting, they came to a conclusion to table the item to give the property owner 60 days to work with the building official to address the concerns where we believe that house does not, that the building official believes that the house does not comply with the International Property Maintenance Code when it comes to, housing condition. So that's what happened at that meeting. That board then also agreed to meet in the near future to receive training from the city attorney, the building official, through PCI to just talk about steps going forward. One thing I shared with the CBA is I believe I have a council, especially when you look at the goal and the community development, that's very passionate that we address some of these structures in the city that are just dilapidated and falling apart. And with the startup of the rental inspection program, we feel we're gonna have more property owners appealing, decisions. So they wanna take an opportunity to just refresh and, get up to speed on this stuff. So that is what occurred at the Construction Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Joel. Moving on to 11B. 11B1, request to approve accounts payable and payroll. Mayor Pro-Tem Hans.
Approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,568,614.82 and payroll in the amount of $291,411.65 for a total disbursement of $1,860,026.47. Make a motion to approve.
I move we pay them.
Take that as a second. It has been moved and seconded. You did that like a champ, by the way. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Moving down to 11D, water utilities. 11D1, request to authorize a purchase order for Kennedy Industries, Inc. for Eastern Avenue Lift Station pump repairs in the amount of $8,995. Doug?
Yes, so recently, we had one of the lift pumps in the Eastern Avenue lift station give an alarm and fail. We pulled the pump, it was taken to Kennedy Industries for analysis. They basically take it into their shop, they tear it apart, find out what parts went wrong, and give us a report and an estimate on cost. The seal failed in there, allowed water to leak into the motor and shorted it out. Due to the history with this lift station, I asked if this was due to any type of chemical attack. And their response was, no, this looks like it's normal wear and tear. The seal on the pump just wore out, failed, and allowed it to happen. They did not see any degradation that they could positively say was due to any type of chemical attack. So this will end up being our repair costs. This is an item that is identified as, in our asset management, as needing repairs or replacement periodically, as they wear out, so.
Great, thanks, Doug.
I have a question. Two questions, I guess. Is this on our scheduled maintenance program then?
So,
Like, what did we call
yes,
those?
I believe that the
Like,
schedule for the eastern pumps is like every 5 years.
Okay.
That will need some type of maintenance and or replacement.
So is it time for this one, do you know, or?
This one has been
is
in
this
the
just-
longest of all 3 pumps that we have in there.
Okay.
So yes, I believe this one, if I remember what Todd told me, this one has been in for 7 years.
Okay, all right.
It's
So money's-
more than due.
Okay, all right. Second question, I guess, is for Joel. Didn't we pass our ordinance where you can approve up to $10,000? So I'm just curious why this is coming before us.
Yes, you did. That was recently approved. You're
Yep.
probably just outside the 21-day when an ordinance goes into effect.
Okay.
And this could have just been an oversight on staff's part, or maybe I wanted Doug to practice his report writing skills, and it was an oversight, so I apologize. Moving
I
forward.
understand, but
Yeah.
the less we can hear from Doug, the better.
But the more I spend with Doug, the happier I am, so I enjoy this time.
Okay, just had a,
Yeah.
just wondered, I thought we passed it.
You did,
Okay.
it's 10,000. Thank you for the reminder.
You know, that's okay.
Right, any other questions?
I would just like to add that if you do see things less than 10,000, it's because it needs a budget adjustment. So you may see things that are under 10, but
There we go.
This does not need
Okay,
a budget adjustment,
But
correct?
this
No.
doesn't, sure. That's- yeah.
That is just for the new motor, Doug?
Pardon me?
Is that just for the new motor?
That is, they're rebuilding the pump. It's a new seal, rewinding the motor, baking it out, and then new bearings and assembly.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Continuing on in water utilities, item 11D2, request to authorize a purchase order for Northwest Kent to install pipe and fittings to replace the existing water meter at the Allegan County Fairgrounds in the amount of $7,193. Doug?
As you all know, we have gone through an extensive water meter change-out program over the last year and a half. The water meter at the fairgrounds is the last large meter that we have to change. We've been holding off on it because we knew that it required piping changes. The changes to the piping are beyond staff's capabilities at this point. So we got 3 quotes from different mechanical contractors. Northwest Kent provided the lowest quote to redo the piping at the fairgrounds and install the new water meter. This one is obviously below the 10,000 that was mentioned in the previous one. And the reason for that is this one does require a budget adjustment.
How will we know when we've gotten too many budget adjustments?
I'm sorry.
Is that?
Like, so we're making a budget adjustment. I think at the beginning of the year, we'd said we're gonna be at like 40 grand at the end of the year for water. this one's $7,000. I think we'd done a budget adjustment for pipes earlier this year. How do we get like an updated projection on that? How do I know we're okay to do budget adjustments?
At this point, the way that we currently do these, we don't put that in the report, and those come with the revenue and expense reports that you guys get monthly. And then the quarterly budget adjustments, that's how you'll know that. Or emailing me at any point.
When will we get another revenue and expenditure report?
Next council meeting, the auditors will be here to present the year-end budget adjustment. I'll have the budget adjustment numbers. They'll be doing the audit for the year-end. Then I'll have the fourth quarter budget adjustment numbers and the first quarter budget adjustments for this year.
And the revenue and expenditure report, so we can know,
Yep,
How
I'll
much?
have those updated too.
and that'll have like a projection for, here's how much money we'll have at the
Yep.
end of the year.
Yep,
Okay.
it'll have the amended budget, which is supposed to show what the projected amount will be at June 30, 2024.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Tracy. Any other questions? Can I get a motion? Oh, you go.
I do have a question. So I've asked this question before, and I'm just going to reiterate. You said this was beyond staff's capability. So we have purchased equipment, we've hired 3 manpowers.
Yep.
I don't understand why we keep
So-
contracting this piping stuff out.
Because this is large, this is 8-inch ductile iron. Our guys don't typically work with ductile iron, piping like this. When I say it's beyond the capabilities, they could do it, but it would take us a lot more man-hours than it would with the contractor to take it. We may not get the right fittings when we get them at first, and then, so, it would be easier with the contractor doing it than our staff doing it. And the 3 employees that you referenced, we try to keep them on lead service replacements or restorations of the lead service replacements, and not have them pulled off to do other work throughout the utilities that is not covered by the Booker funding.
Okay, thank you.
You have something, Peter? All right, can we get a motion?
I move to authorize the purchase order for Northwest Kent in the amount of $7,193.
I'll second.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. And then 11D3, still in water utilities, request to authorize a purchase order for RS Technical Services, Inc. for the installation of replacement chlorine pumps at the water treatment plant in the amount of $25,150.60.
So this is to replace the 4 chlorine pumps at the water plant. This will actually be the second time they're replaced. The pumps, what we are learning, the Miox, which is mixed oxidant, we generate our own chlorine. It creates other chlorine products that degrade the pumps that we have had in service. The current pumps have a peristaltic pump head, and actually it degrades the silicone or the rubber parts to a point where they start leaking within, a couple months or sooner. Those replacement heads are about $600 a piece. And we typically run 2 pumps at a time, and we feel it's unacceptable. So, our water plant manager, Zach, he's asked some different companies, they were, brought in a pump for him to test. He, ran 3 different pumps for, I think it was 2 to 3 months each, and this was the one that showed no degradation to the pump head, to any of the parts in there. So we feel that this would be a good replacement, for these chlorine pumps going forward.
Do you have something?
Doug, would these pumps be under warranty or anything? Like
No,
that, or be
these pumps
replaced?
the current ones were replaced probably close to 5 years ago. And typically, a lot of the equipment carries a 1-year warranty.
Okay.
Now, we redid the flooring in there, correct? And part of that was, the reason was because of the leaks that we had.
Yes.
Of the chlorine,
Yep.
the myox, degrading our flooring, so we just replaced all that flooring. I'd like to keep it nice and not have it fall apart again.
And I will add to that comment, the flooring is holding up. It still looks very nice for where they replaced and repaired it.
So, I ask this question with the utmost respect for what you guys do. But it seems that in most water treatment plants, that they're using a system like this. How do we not know that the chlorine deteriorates this much?
Most plants feed either liquid chlorine, gaseous chlorine, or sodium hypochlorite. We actually generate our own, which is a sodium hypochlorite chloride, but because we generate our own, what we're finding is it creates other chlorine products that are degrading these pumps. When the Myox machine equipment was installed in 2010, I believe it was the second one in the state. So it is rather new technology, and Zach's doing most of the research on this, and they're just finding out that there's these other byproducts that are produced that are degrading equipment like this.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Any more questions for Doug? Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I keep forgetting to vote. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I know, sorry. I got too many moving parts right now. Moving on, 11E, Public Works. Stop it. 11E1, request to authorize a purchase order for Camp and Cruise for the replacement of storm-damaged kayak launch at Jaycee Park in the amount of $12,218.40, and authorize a budget adjustment in the amount of $2,500 to cover the city's insurance deductible. Joel?
Thank you, Mayor Byrd. Earlier this fall, we had a tree fall on our accessible kayak launch over at Jaycee Park. It caused damage, as you saw in the pictures in the report. Our insurance will cover most of it, except for $2,500, which is the city's responsibility. We brought this to you because while we do have a maintenance, line item in our parks fund, that's for other stuff that's been planned. This has not been planned, obviously, so it's coming to you because it does require a budget adjustment in the amount of $2,500. So we need you to authorize this.
All right, thanks, Joel. Any questions for staff? Can I get a motion?
I so move.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item 11E2, request to approve an agreement with Michigan Department of Transportation. Joel?
Sure. So as council is well aware, next year, MDOT will begin the resurfacing of M89, including the reconstruction of a roundabout and improvements to associated streets in the city limits, including Hubbard Street, a portion of Jenner and Ely as well, and some sidewalk work. As part of that project, we will have to, pay for a portion of that work. What you have in front of you is the typical contract MDOT has with local area agencies for these improvements. It's estimated that our contribution will be $545,000. And so this contract needs to be approved as part of our commitment to this. This is budgeted in next year's budget to cover these funds.
Great, thanks, Joel. Dave?
Are there any additional expenses for this project? Like stuff that's not covered under the scope of MDOT's contract?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
We're gonna realign Hubbard, right? And I think part of that was outside of the scope of the roundabout part of that was cities.
That's incorrect. The project has been designed, we've had the documents, the schematics up in the lobby here for probably going on 4 or 5 months now. It was bid showing the roundabout as shown on the design out in the lobby, as well as the improvements. I mean, we're replacing some water main in that general area. We are adding sidewalk. That's all been identified. If there's going to be anything different from this, it will come from in the field, change orders, adjustments. When they start digging up the earth and they realize they got to take the retaining wall an extra 20 feet than what they planned on. Or there is discussion at the staff level right now if funding is available during the budget process for next year of trying to figure out a way to do underground wires and lighting along Hubbard from the roundabout to Walnut. That would be a completely separate contract, not part of this, but it will be constructed at the same time, so everyone's gonna think it's part of the same project. And that has been, part of the goal from day one with the DDA on trying to, connect M89 to downtown, so you create a true gateway coming off that state trunk line.
And if I remember right, MDOT bribed or sweetened the pot by paying for a lot of the connections that normally we would be paying for. That's why it's not as much.
I would offer that's correct. MDOT's doing a lot. That was a lot of work on our finance director in meetings with MDOT and Doug Codsman with meetings of MDOT, given a high level or a top number that the city would commit to. And MDOT had to go from like $1 million down to this number. I mean, Tracy and Doug Codsman saved us close to $400,000 on this project.
There's one other thing that's probably not in this, which would be the signage. That sign that's at the center of the roundabout is not in this.
Correct.
So if
Right now
we're
it's gonna be
gonna-
landscaping.
So if we're gonna do something like that, we have to plan for that and put in electric or whatever we need out to that and look at that as well in our budget session to make sure we're gonna, if that's an idea that we wanna go with,
Yeah.
let's pre-plan that, because I don't wanna be digging up the roundabout to put an electric out to the center.
That's a good point.
Good call.
And that stuff we will, most definitely have conversations
And
about.
can I force MDOT to allow electronic signs if we don't wanna sign this?
If you can force them not to do something,
Well, they sweetened the pot once.
you'll
I
be
can
the
get
third person where I said there's no way they're gonna do this, I'll be proven wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, the project that they've been discussing now for the past year, that we've had a community meeting here on, is the project we're getting. This is improved crosswalks in certain areas, Doug's department, Doug Swears' department. There's a lot of water work. We're replacing one block of duct iron sewer or water.
Yeah, it's old ductile iron on Cedar Street and then down Howard Street.
So we have new stuff on both sides, and this was like an old part, and Doug was like, we need to take care of this now with the road ripped up. And so that's been included in this. I'm very thankful Milbacher got the low bid last week when this was released by MDOT. They still haven't signed the contracts, but Milbacher is the low bid, so to have them in town for another year, it'll be fun. We're becoming family with the Milbacher workers. They're great people, but we're becoming family now.
Spend enough time with them.
And Joel or Tracy, didn't Doug Cobsbon work to get a grant for
Yeah,
some of that as
yeah,
well?
yeah. Doug secured,
700 and something thousand, or wasn't it?
Doug has secured some federal funding, safety planning funding through this, to help with the cost of the roundabout construction and, the improvements.
Great.
Any questions about this contract?
One question I had was, I guess it's sort of about this contract. Is this we're gonna break ground when we have a thaw? Is this gonna be in the summer?
Yeah, so the project, I'll speak to this part, and Doug Swears, feel free to correct me if I misspeak. This is a project, and I'm gonna focus just on the roundabout that affects us.
Yeah.
This is a complete shutdown of that intersection, starting as soon as probably they can get out there, so when the weather allows them, but let's just say April, all the way up to the end of August, the first week of September, they want it open for the fair.
Wow.
So there are a handful of people around this table. I think there's only just one that is gonna have a very long detour. Mike, you two are gonna have a very long detour to come to city council meetings. By very long, it's subjective, but you're gonna go down Sherman to Thomas, or Thomas to Sherman to Delano to 222 and scoot in that way.
Got it figured out.
Yeah. The rest of you, I think, are gonna be able to scoot in on, like Dave and Peter. You'll be able to, the Iron Bridge will be open, so you'll be able to come in that way, which will be good for you.
That's good.
Teresa, you shouldn't be hurt too much unless you're going that side of town, and Delora, you should be okay coming down Delano.
Eastern's gonna see a bit more traffic as well as probably Babylon. I would like to see what their detour plans are on this and what their routes are.
Yeah.
Because
So MDOT has already established their detour plans on indoor projects. They do what's called detours for through traffic. So for the people that are going from the north to the south or south to the north, since this is a north-south road, we have already met with Life EMS, representatives from the hospital, and Nick Brink, the fire chief, because we need local detours for hospital. So when Johnny falls off a play set and he's on Low Street and breaks his arm and mom is like, in the car now, we're gone. We need to make it easy for mom to get over there. So we're working with them right now. I've already I've offered the city to pay for those small signs. Those are inconsequential when it comes to our budget. But we just really want to make sure there's a local detour for emergency purposes.
And before we launch, are we gonna have a meeting or
Yep.
information sent out, like if we put it in the water bill, hey, there's gonna be this detour and a map saying
Yep.
how this is gonna work?
We
Just
will-
to try to pre-inform them?
We will do the pre-informed, that's a very good idea. We'll probably, in the water bill, we'll probably do a link to a place on our website, because I don't know how much of we do a small one, but
Well, it's the main one, which is, yeah, you're gonna either come in on Babylon if you're having to come through, which is gonna be a lots of routes. I just would like to make sure we get as much information to the public, because otherwise this is a major, major intersection that has a ton of traffic.
And I wouldn't even say so much as informing the residents as getting something on the website for the employees that are coming in from out of town.
Yep, and then we can share that with the large employers, that they can send a notice out.
Exactly.
Allegan's
But-
going to have construction.
But this contract
fatigue.
does need a motion, a support, and approval.
I'm getting there.
I just wanna make sure.
We're still having conversation. When we're done with conversation, we'll vote.
Thank you.
I'm moving at my own pace, thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed, nay? No. I'm a yay.
Did you get that, Michaela? Thank you.
We have one nay. All right, 11F, city manager and clerk, and city clerk. 11F1, request to approve purchase order with Johnson Controls to repair the boiler at the Griswold Auditorium in the amount of $4,512 and authorize a budget adjustment to cover said cost. Cool.
So similar to the kayak launch, during an inspection of the Griswold boiler, it was determined that some work needed to be done to the boiler. That cost is $4,512. While it's, below my spending authority, that maintenance cost has been identified for other stuff, and we thought it was, appropriate to bring this to council at this time to have this covered. Unique and probably cool thing about this is the Escanaba and the Moonlight Show at the Griswold was a fundraiser between the Lions Club and the city. And the city raised approximately $5,000 from that show. So revenue comes in, expenditures go out. But, that is something nice to have happen. And we've told the Lions Club that, that funding is going to help keep the Griswold heated and warm for the summer month, for the winter months.
Great, awesome. Any questions? Can I get a motion?
I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. 11F2, request to adopt resolution 2331 to transfer an OPRA certificate for 208 Trowbridge Street from Grain LLC to Landy's Bandy's LLC.
So last May, City Council approved OPRA for 208 Trowbridge Street. That business/property owner has moved on to other endeavors and sold the property to Landy's Bandy's, which also owns the Sassy Olive here in town. The business owner there has a vision for, lack of a better phrase, a home goods store, but creative home goods, what she's looking at. And we need to transfer the LLC from the Grain LLC to Landy's Bandy so that she can continue to benefit from that OPRA.
Thank you, Joel. Any questions on this? Can I get a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 23.31 to transfer the OPRA to Landy's Bandy's.
Sure.
8 years.
Yeah, so in the report that Michaela put together, so thank you, Michaela, for doing this report. It was, the OPRA will expire on December 30th of 2030. Thank you very much, Councilmember Andrus. So it is an 8-year.
I second the motion.
We have a second. We have, it's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item 11F3, request to review and decide on how to proceed with the proposed amendments to AT&T Cellular Lease on Western Avenue Water Tower. Joel?
So this summer, I brought to you the AT&T proposed new lease agreement for water tower. At that time, AT&T wanted to reduce the annual escalator from 3% to 2%. You discussed it, you chose that to keep it at 3%, and then also to kind of direct staff to work with them to fix some issues we had on top of the tower that they created. Those issues are being fixed right now. However, AT&T has continued to reach out to me and negotiate or attempt to negotiate on an amended lease for that tower. During that discussion, they do say, we don't need to stay on your tower, we can go somewhere else. And like I said, okay, you understand Allegan's in the valley, this gentleman's from Texas. And, you know, good luck getting that thing. They've talked about what 5G does to towers like ours. Their proposal right now, in my report says, if we agree to their term, you know, we will lose on average $3,458. That equates to about a 10% increase on RTSs, you know, in the city. However, you know, if they do leave, then we would lose, you know, that rental agreement, you know, that rent, which is $27,000 a year. I will remind you that Verizon also tried this tactic. They stayed at 3%. They accepted it. It's going through their legal right now. We didn't make any changes. We just extended the term of the agreement is what they're going to be requesting, and we will be bringing that to you when I get that stuff from their legal. But we have I asked from this person representing AT&T that they give us a drop dead date, because I'm kind of getting tired of just taking phone calls every 3 days from someone in Texas. The drop dead date is tomorrow. So it's very simple. You know, we say thanks, no thanks, or we say we agree to the new one.
All right. Thanks, Joel. Any discussion from council?
I just have a question. Is there like a lease termination charge if they just up and do leave?
No, not to my knowledge. Yeah.
No.
Not to our knowledge, and when I brought that up in the conversation with him, he informed me that the FCC has different rules, whether we had one or not, or if Centennial Wireless signed it, it was, we report to the FCC, not the city of Allegan. And I said, okay, thank you.
I guess for me, I don't want to die in the sword of a 1% decrease.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to have the income coming in rather than the possibility of them leaving and not having that at all. But that's my personal thoughts.
I see where that's coming from. I also want to point out that in 2023, AT&T's gross profits were $72 billion, and their trying to bilk us out of a few thousand. By the way, their profits were up by 10% in 2023, so not like they're hurting for cash. I understand that's not all cellular, but 72 billion is a pretty big number.
And I just know from being in the cellular industry in the past, they're probably not gonna go nowhere else and put up a tower or erect anything anywhere else.
I agree with that statement. I think we stay. They're just trying to negotiate and play hardball.
I agree.
Sorry, there's been a bit of inflation, and they're trying to ask for a deflated price
No, right?
to start back lower. Like, well, I guess my phone bills kind of have reduced, but they never quite fully reduce.
Well, that's
I'm always
okay.
having to fight them for it
We'd
to
not
get
even
the
go
best
to
deal. So
Spectrum for
I'm not sure.
$29.99 a month. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
So, any more thoughts? Where are we leaning on this?
I'm leaning we just stay where we're at. Oh, excuse me, I'm leaning we just stay where we're at with them. We stand our ground,
Play hardball?
that's my opinion.
Are we willing to risk the $24,000?
And if that's where everyone's leaning, I'm supportive of that too. I probably err on the side of caution with that, so. And I don't want to see our water bills have to go up again.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Though they will, but.
They will
Not
anyway,
more than
but that's okay.
Anyone strongly opposed to that? Or moderately opposed to that?
Not really opposed to just stand where we're at. Like Joel said, they could terminate at any time if they so wanted to. Looking in here, you have the termination agreement, this 30-day notice. So it's not like they couldn't just say, well, we're gonna leave tomorrow anyways.
That's on this contract, right?
I would assume it'd be
Yeah.
probably similar to the prior, unless if I.
But
I'd have
like
to
they
see the
said, that was a centennial contract. AT&T probably has no clue what it even said. I worked for both of them.
So any more discussion? All right, can we get a motion?
Do we need a motion or just a direction for staff?
Yeah, I don't see a motion. This is a
Oh, it's not a
memorandum.
motion.
It's just a
To discuss.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would appreciate a motion from council that we, that the rate structure, we stay at where we're at, just so I can send it to them from the minutes and say,
I would make a
Council has
motion
spoken.
that the rate structure stays where it's at currently.
I'll support it.
It has been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, communications from city manager, council, and mayor. Joel?
thank you. First of all, Roger, Teresa, thank you for being Mayor Pro-Tem for the past year. Welcome, Peter, to Mayor Pro-Tem. Next meeting, typically people change up their seating. So if you want to change up your seating, that's up to you. If you like sitting next to me, Bill, you may continue. But I just wanted to put that out there because that's been a typical process. People move around, some people want a different view. So,
I think you just make the switch.
okay, let me know or let Michaela know, and Michaela will, respond to the clerk and she'll put people where people are more comfortable as they want to move around.
All right,
That's all I have.
thank you, Joel. Parker, anything?
Yeah, a couple quick things. I want to remind the council again, and I'll send out an email with this reminder as well. But in coordination with Small Business Saturday on November 25th, we will also be having the ribbon cutting of the downtown. We've got kind of a full day planned around that ribbon cutting. From 10 to 2, we'll be doing a Touch a Truck event. For those that aren't familiar, we'll have a couple of vehicles from our water utilities department, our fire department, and a vehicle from Milbacher and Sons. This is an opportunity for kids and families to come and take pictures around these big vehicles and hop in the front seat perhaps and get some freebies and giveaways that I know that Doug will be providing to the kids that come along. So that'll be happening from 10 to 2, smack dab in the middle there at 11. We will do the ribbon cutting at the Trowbridge Plaza. Like I said, I will send an email invitation, but please, if you can mark that on your calendars, we would love to have you there. We're doing that in coordination with the Allegan Area Chamber of Commerce. And then throughout the day, we'll have live music at a couple of different gathering spots. These new bump outs that we've created through the downtown will host a couple of musicians there for a couple of hour blocks throughout the day. And of course, this is just, again, to support the downtown and get people down here having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, social district drinks, shopping our stores, and checking out what they all have to offer, which will be numerous different things throughout the day, too. All of these businesses have different things that they'll be hosting throughout the day as well. And then I want to give a quick plug. The Allegan Community Players are having their production of Almost Maine at the Griswold this weekend, the 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's a romantic comedy. They've been putting in a lot of work. It's been tons of fun. Being a part of the Escanaba and the Moonlight group that wrapped up, we were kind of sharing the Griswold with the Allegan Community Players. So I've got kind of a sneak peek as to what's going on there, and it should be a really fun show. And then, again, I will follow up with an email along with Michaela with regards to the parade that is coming up to kick off Festive Fridays on December 1st. Joel will be driving the Holly Jolly Trolley through the parade, and hopefully we can fill it with some council members to toss some candy for the kids. So that is all.
Thanks, Parker. Michaela, anything from you?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Tracy?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Doug?
Just congratulations, Mayor Byrd and
Thank you.
Mayor Pro-Tem Hans.
Thank you. All right. Bill, anything from you?
Just congratulations to Mr. Hans. And what's your name, Roger? Oh, yeah, Mr. Bird. Congratulations, you two. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you. Dave, anything from you?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Delora?
Doug, quick question. Where's our water loss at right now, percentage-wise?
Thank you for asking. For the last month that we
Welcome.
have
It's like I
it,
led right into that. I didn't even know.
for the last month that we calculated, it was 10%. So, and the month before that, I believe it was 10.9. So we're on a roll. We want to keep it right around the 10. Hopefully that's where it stays or goes even lower.
Awesome. Please extend, thanks, our gratitude to your department, because that was a huge undertaking, and I appreciate all the efforts that went into it. It was a lot.
So was that due on behalf of, did we do the bridge thing?
No, the bridge thing is not done.
Okay.
The major leak we found was down in the Mill District.
Oh, okay.
That one there, and then, we found a couple others, one up by M40 South.
Okay.
Couple of them happened on mid-May. We had, working with the downtown project, we had closed some valves that created a higher pressure. Couple of them surfaced, but we think a couple of those might have been leaking for a while, and it just made the leak worse when we closed the valves, so they were identifiable, so. But yes, I believe the major one was down in the Mill District.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome, thank you.
Sergeant Gorby, I just want to say thank you also to you for being here, and I appreciate your direction this evening. And Teresa, thank you so much for your term as mayor. You weren't handed the easiest year to handle, but you did it with aplomb, and you did it very well, so thank you. And congratulations to Mayor and Peter, to Mayor Byrd and Peter. It's going to take a minute.
I know, it's weird. It sounds weird coming out of your mouth. Teresa?
I do have a few things. How about the burnt house on River Street? What's going on with that right off of Grand Street there?
So,
Update?
yeah, so we received the insurance money. So if they don't bring it in their compliance, we'll have money here for us to do demolition and raise it. We are reaching out to the property owner and trying to figure out the process that they want to go.
Was that a rental home?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you. And then, I received a letter from the city. Actually, it came in an Avonmarsh envelope about Eagle gonna require something digging up, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Okay, enlighten me, please.
So that is with our DWAM grant for lead service identification. And I believe it was either last council meeting or 2 council meetings ago, you approved a contract with Plumbers Environmental for doing potholing to identify lead service lines around the city. So we provided a list to Avonmarsh of services where we do not know at least one part of the service. So there's, Eagle requires us to check, or to look at 4 spots at where the water service is connected to the main, on each side of the curb stop and in the house. In the house, we got when we change meters. At the curb stop, we don't know. At the main, we can tell by age of main, or if it's been replaced. So Eagle requires us, we can't pothole every service in the city. So they come up with a formula where we have to identify so many addresses throughout the city of where we don't know those locations. We then, out of them, all the addresses that we do not know, they are randomly selected addresses, and then those are identified to be potholes.
It's a winner.
So yes, I would like to congratulate
I
Councilmember
was just
Galloway, and I
curious.
guess Councilmember Redding should have received a letter also.
Yeah, I was just curious how it all transpired. I figured there was something
Yep.
we had voted on, but I didn't go back and do the research. I'm not like Delora and Peter, who researches everything.
So the information gathered from this potholing will then be used to generate our inventory, our verified inventory list that is due to Eagle by the end of 2024.
Gotcha. Thank you, Doug. Okay.
Anything else,
All right.
Teresa?
The only other thing was, I was told November 25th has to be done by noon because there's some stupid football game on or something. So I don't know what Parker's talking about going till 2 o'clock, but.
That's why we're starting at 11.
Sporting
If he has anything
Yeah,
to say
yeah.
about it, it'll be a quick rip and cut.
That's all I
That'll
have.
be a quick ribbon cutting.
All right. Is that it?
That's it, thank you.
Mike, anything from you?
Yeah, I don't know how to put this out, Glenn. But at the last meeting, I'm shocked at a few people. The individual addressed the visitors and not us. Past Mayor Galloway for not shutting that down. And Delora, you did not shut that down. And so was that a premeditated attack on his part? And it just is,
No, actually, I thought that there were several council members, including myself, that told him to turn around and address council. And then during my comments, I actually made a comment about it, that it was not appropriate, and I did not excuse it. Unlike council members sitting up here who have excused Mr. Jones for his behavior. And Mr. Jones was consistently not address council and address staff, which is against our current council policies. He's never been spoken to. So if you want to talk interesting, the fact that one individual was told to turn around and address council, yet another was not and has not been for months. But yes, I did address it very clearly, as did Roger. I know I heard you, as did Teresa.
Yes, I did. I addressed him, even though he did not introduce himself. I said, Mark, you need to speak with us. So I don't know what you heard, but we did address Mark. So.
and then Mark being an officer, it shocks me that
He is not an officer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought he was. And then to the city, the leaf pickup has seemed to been going smooth, and there's piles out on the road, and the next day they're gone. Impressed with that.
Good job. Is that it? Mike, that's it? Peter, anything from you?
Thank you for electing me Mayor Pro-Tem. I do have to ask, unfortunately, the next meeting I cannot attend. I have a business trip that can't be rescheduled.
Here we go.
That's why I'm asking for the excuse now. I was originally planning the week of Thanksgiving to do this business that I needed to go do, and that wasn't gonna happen because my wife would kill me, so I had to do it the following week. So I usually try to work all my business trips around our schedules, but this one I just couldn't. And it has to get done before December, so I'll ask to be excused.
We'll take it under consideration. Thank you, Peter.
Roger?
Yes,
I
sir.
do have one thing,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Email was sent out this morning from me about the strategic planning budget session. And I kind of need to know tonight if we can move that up a week.
Yeah, remind me what the date was?
January 5th and 6th.
Yeah, January 5th and 6th.
works
Fine with me, I already checked.
Let me check.
I've updated my calendar, so that's fine with me.
I think that should be good.
It's good with all staff. I've talked with staff.
Miss Trevor.
That's when I want to do it, because I inadvertently double booked myself
January 5th and 6th.
the following weekend.
Do that.
Okay. Nope. Dale Olmsted is taking me to my first college hockey experience in the Sault Ste. Marie. It's something he does, and he wants to hang out with me in the Sault Ste. Marie for college
In
hockey.
January, who goes to Sault Ste. Marie?
That's what I said. But our families are hanging out a little bit more because of our kids, and I'm gonna go hang out with them. So I'm sorry for
Nope.
jumping in, but I
No,
forgot
that's
to
good.
verify that.
That's good. All right. So, just real quickly, when I fell in love with Allegan when we moved here in 2008, and at that time, never would have thought that I would be mayor of Allegan. And so I just want to thank all of you for your votes and for your confidence, and I will do my best not to let you down and be a good mayor for you. So thank you all very much. If there's nothing further, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:23.
One piece from the newspaper, if you guys want.